episode of Inside the Pit. I'm your host, Luke Sobiak, and along with me for the ride, Chris Camozzi.
How you doing?
Good, man. You're fresh off your UFC 158 victory. We're going to talk to Chris. We're also going to be talking to Josh Huber, who's going to co-headline the heavy hitters card that we will be previewing a little bit later on. So, Chris, I'll start things off with you, man. UFC 158 this past Saturday. Tell us about the whole experience.
Well, I took the trip to Montreal. I always enjoy going to Canada. I've fought there before, but it's been a couple years, and I was excited to go back up there. Montreal, especially for a GSP fight, draws a huge crowd. I mean, that stadium was rumbling. I was fortunate enough to fight on the main card, and it was a great trip. I walked away with a split decision victory. I'm not that happy about that. I would have liked to finish the fight or, won it more decisively, but a win's a win, and it gives me another chance to go back to the gym and work.
Yeah, and you and Nick Ring are good friends, and you actually took a picture before the fight of you guys kind of hanging out. So what was it like after the fight? Did you get a chance to talk to him?
Yeah, I did. I saw him in the hotel. I rode on the shuttle with him, but we wanted to take a before picture before we were both all smashed up. He's a good friend of mine, and he'll still be a friend of mine. This sport isn't personal. It's just business, and I look forward to hanging out with him again and hopefully training together. As far as the fight goes, it's not that hard to switch over. When I signed up to do this, when I signed up for the Ultimate Fighter, I knew I was going to be fighting people I know, friends, and it's a sport to me. So, I was able to walk away with the win, and I'm more competitive when I compete with friends anyway. So that's definitely a big plus for me. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be sitting here if I lost. I'd still be locked in my room.
Now, tell us a little bit about the fight. Like, when you walked out and you heard the crowd, 20,000 plus at the Bell Center in Montreal, what was going through your mind, man? Was that a huge crowd for you?
Yeah. Walking out is one of my favorite parts. You take in the energy of the crowd, and it's just a really cool experience that unless you're a rock star or something, you don't really get to experience. Even NFL players don't get to experience, walking down the walkways through the tight tunnel. You got everybody's hands up in the air, the crowd leaning over, and when they're cheering, it's great. As long as they're not throwing drinks on you or something, which has happened before. People will spit on you or throw drinks or something. But those are rare occasions. It's more so the cheers and everything, and it's just it's an experience that I think I'm fortunate enough to have, and a lot of people never will know that, but it's a great feeling.
Now, during the fight itself, it went to a decision, like you said. After round two, going into the final round, what was your mentality? What was your corner saying to you to try to make sure you got that W?
Well, if you watch the fight, you'll see I'm pacing around in the corner a lot. I put a lot of pressure on myself for this fight. Fighting a friend and being on the main card, I just knew I had to win, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to perform. And I think that hindered my performance a little bit. I wanted to fight so exciting that I think I had a lot in my head instead of just going out there and letting it go. But in the corner, I was pacing back and forth. I knew Nick slows down as the rounds go. I train here in Colorado at Mile High, and so I train so that I can speed up each round. And between rounds, I was just so jacked to be going. My cardio felt great, so I was pacing in the corner. I wanted Nick to look over and see me pacing, not tired. There's nothing worse than when you're exhausted and you look over and your opponent is just fresh. And so I was playing a little bit of a mental game with him. A lot of people ended up thinking that I wasn't listening to my corner or that I was mad or something like that. But it's more mind games that I think play a toll in the fight. He has to look over and see me pacing around, and then he has to come back out there tired and fight me.
Well, good, man. We're glad you got the victory. We're going to be talking to Chris a lot more later on. We're also going to be previewing the big heavy hitters card coming up March 30th at the Grizzly Rose. But after this short break from our sponsor, we're going to get into the big breakdown of the Rivals card, which was last week. Great highlights to show you. This is Inside the Pit. back to the show. It's now time to talk about our last card, which was Rivals. This was a good card, man. It was headlined by Chilo Gonzalez taking on Jeremy Hart. Main event, big main event, a lot of people there, man.
Yeah, both guys brought a lot of energy. We knew it was going to be a slug match when we set the match. Chilo's been around for a long time, but Jeremy Hart is a real gritty fighter. And, to start it off, Jeremy Hart landed a real solid head kick and really rattled Chilo.
He did, and Chilo went down, and everyone jumped out of their seats. They thought that could possibly be the end of the fight. Jeremy proved his last fight against Tyson Jeffries that anything's possible in that cage, man, because he brought it in that fight. And the same thing kind of transpired in this fight with Chilo. However, Chilo did recover, and what he did next was pretty crazy. He actually locked in the armbar and popped Jeremy's arm right out of socket and to finish the fight.
Yeah, Chilo's a real seasoned veteran. When you rock a veteran like that, you got to expect that they're going to recover. You always want to follow up and stuff, but guys that have had numerous fights usually can recover well. They can take a lot of punishment, and there's just something to be said about the amount of fights that you build up over a career and experience level. But, Jeremy Hart is no rookie himself either. He's had a lot of fights. He's had a great run, and, there's no shame in losing one along the way. Chilo's got a real slick ground game, and unfortunately, Jeremy Hart popped his elbow. That's never good, but hopefully there's no serious injury, and we'll see him again soon.
Yeah, and I'm sure we will. Jeremy's a tough fighter, man, and he'll be back as well as Chilo. And the co-main event, Nick Mamelis against one of your buddies, Nick Honstein.
Yeah, it was a 3-round battle. Honstein is a real slick fighter, and Mamelis is just tough, straightforward. And, I thought Honstein was getting the better of him in the beginning, but in the end, Mamelis came out on top by doing more damage. And, I think Nick Honstein needed to stay off his back a little bit more and let his striking go. I think he lost a little bit of confidence in his striking, and that was his downfall in the fight.
Yeah, and Mamelis took him down at will in that third round. Honstein, it was his first fight in quite a bit, and Mamelis hit him with some short elbow shots, cut him open a little bit, and pretty much dominated to a unanimous decision win. And then we had Justin Jeho Houghton taking on Cruz Soltero in a Muay Thai kickboxing fight.
Yeah, Houghton is a tough kickboxer. Anytime you see that amount of leg kicks and that amount of damage done, it's great. Muay Thai is built around leg kicks and power, and you see a ton of kicks in Muay Thai, and everything is just power, and the whole point in Muay Thai is just to really put some punishment on your opponent. Muay Thai is a brutal sport, and Justin Houghton did exactly that. He won with leg kicks, TKO with leg kicks, and that would be my ideal way to win a Muay Thai fight too. That just shows complete dominance there.
Oh, it does. And Cruz's leg took a beating in the first few minutes of that fight. He ended up going, I believe it was the third round is when it ended, and it definitely it couldn't end quick enough for Cruz, unfortunately. But he did suffer some pretty nasty leg damage.
Yeah, going into a Muay Thai fight, you gotta be ready to check kicks, and it doesn't help. Those leg kicks, they add up over and over again. And watching it on TV, you might not see much, but leg kicks take a little bit of time to set in. So if you really start throwing them in the first round or two, it pays off in the third round. It'll slow down your opponent. It really hinders the movement, and it's just painful all around. You feel those leg kicks for a week or so, and I'm sure he wasn't walking good the next day.
Yeah, he's not lying. He actually leg kicked me about 4 times on the way in here today, so that's why I'm sitting down and can't move.
Give him one more on the way out.
Yeah, he probably will. So stick around. We're going to break down Heavy Hitters, which is coming to the Grizzly Rose. And now we're going to take a look at some of those highlights. Welcome back to the show, and now it's time for us to dive in and talk about our next big fight, Heavy Hitters, March 30th at the Grizzly Rose.
Yeah, one side of the ring we got Ultimate Fighter cast member James Chaney. He had an interesting showing on the Ultimate Fighter. A lot of people kind of classified him as the odd man out a little bit, but he does his talking in the cage, and he's a slick fighter. He's got a slick ground game. It should be an interesting matchup. I'm excited to have James come here to Colorado, bring in some new talent for one of our local guys that's coming up to debut against.
Yeah, he trains out of the Goon Squad in California, and he's going to be flying in here and taking on Chris Holcomb in the main event at Heavy Hitters. And I think Chris Holcomb, too, man, he's a good fighter. These two match up very well stylistically against each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a minute ago I said debut, but I don't mean for Holcomb to be debuting. I just mean as far as bringing in new talent for our local guys to fight and get that exposure, outside of Colorado. Holcomb is a beast wrestler, man. He won the professional King of Sparta combat tournament back not too long ago. He won 2 fights in one night. Anybody that does that in my book is a tough dude. If you can fight more than once in one night, I have a lot of respect for you. He debuted last October, and we've seen him on a roll since. So this matchup has me interested a lot. Holcomb is a wrestler with some knockout power, and James Chaney is more of a ground guy. So it'll be interesting to see which style comes out ahead.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Chris Holcomb, take a look at some highlights.
A force to be reckoned with in Colorado, and he's becoming somebody I really like watching fight. So I'm excited for the matchup. As far as my prediction, I'm going to have to go with Holcomb. I think wrestling and power will outdo James Chaney's slick submissions, but I'm interested to see. You never know what's going to happen in the cage, and I think James Chaney's going to bring it. But in the end, altitude, wrestling, power, I think it's going to win.
Oh, man, I'm going to have to disagree with you, Chris. I think James off the Chaney is going to be flying out from California, and I think his ground game is so good, and he's going to use his experience, especially on The Ultimate Fighter, getting all that experience. I think he pulls out a submission win over Chris Holcomb.
Well, I'm interested to see it. We'll have to come up with a friendly bet here then, because I disagree. Who else do we have coming up on the card?
Co-main event is going to be Josh Huber taking on Ricky Musgrave. Former teammates going to go at it.
I'll be talking to Josh Huber later on in Camozzi's Corner, but this matchup has me super excited. I say that a bit, but these two guys, I've been in the gym when they train together. You watch both of their fights, and it looks like rock'em sock'em robots. This is a fan-friendly fight. These guys are going to, hands down, swinging. Huber's patent move is to put his hands down midway through the fight, take some shots, and give some big ones back. And Ricky is a hard-nosed fighter. I think it's going to be a slugging match.
You got to talk to Josh about the hands dropping. You got to talk to him and see what he says. I'm anxious to see what he has to say. But I agree with you, man. I think the Hellboy's going to be bringing it. It's his first time fighting for Sparta Combat, and who better to pit him against than a former teammate?
Yeah, anytime you got two friends fighting, it makes it real competitive. I just fought one of my friends, and I felt a lot of pressure from him because I'm super competitive, and I definitely don't want to lose to one of my friends and have to hear about it later on. So, these guys are going to bring it, and we couldn't ask for a better co-main event. And the winner of this fight, I think, will go on to boost up the rankings for Sparta Combat League, and we could have a potential contender off the winner of this fight, even though both are coming off losses. These guys bring it. They don't lose to any slouches, so either one of these guys can be a top fighter in Colorado here soon.
Yeah, and I'm going to make my prediction on this fight right now, and I think Josh Huber wins this fight. I think it's going to be a close call. I think it's going to be a unanimous decision, split decision-ish, but I got Huber pulling this out. What about you, Chris?
I don't know which way I'm leaning yet. I know Huber better, so maybe I'll take the friendship side too. But I'm calling split decision as well. I don't know if either one of these guys will finish each other, but I think there's going to be a lot of blood. I think there's going to be a lot of swelling and a lot of big oohs and ahs in the crowd. I think there's going to be some big shots thrown. So I'll just say split decision, and I have no idea which way it's going to go.
And if you want tickets for the event March 30th, it's SpartaCombatMMA.com. You can get tickets there. And also on the card, Cody Muma taking on Willie Smalls.
Yeah, Cody, I've had the opportunity to train with Cody a little bit, wrestle with Cody. He's a big, strong guy. And, there's a good chance he's going to put you on the mat if you're fighting Cody Muma. Willie Smalls, coming off a loss, fighting my teammate Adam Stroop. But Adam's no slouch. Adam's becoming one of the best 185ers in Colorado, and Willie Smalls is coming back up to 205. So this could be a good battle. Willie Smalls has good wrestling, and so does Muma. So it could be who ends up on top first.
Yeah, Cody has that core strength about him. He'll pick you up, slam you to the mat, just ride and grind you pretty much for the whole fight and beat you up and give you a good beating. I'm taking Cody in this fight, again, based on more experience and just the level of where he's at right now. I think he's just on the cusp of really breaking things out and going on a big run here.
I agree with you. I'm going to take Cody Muma, second round TKO. But we'll see. I'd like to see Willie prove me wrong and come in there and bring it and, give it to Cody.
All right, on. So, again, if you want tickets to the card, it's March 30th at the Grizzly Rose, Heavy Hitters.
Welcome back to another episode of Camozzi's Corner. I got Josh Hellboy Huber here with me. He's fighting on Sparta Combat League's March 30th Heavy Hitters. Welcome, Josh.
How you doing?
Good. Hey, so let's start off. Where are you training at these days?
I'm training at the compound. I also train at altitude in the springs. I'm pretty much all over the place all the time.
Okay. For those of you that don't know Josh, he's had some epic battles in Colorado MMA. He's always been one of my favorite fighters to watch. You're always out there slugging, and you're never scared to just stand in there with anybody. How does that mentality come about?
I've always been a tough guy. I've never really considered myself exceptionally tough. I just consider myself really competitive. I work hard. I got beat up a lot growing up, I guess. So I really don't back down from bullying or intimidation or anything like that. So. Awesome.
So training out of the compound in Colorado Springs. Your opponent, Ricky Musgrave, is from Colorado Springs, from Pariah MMA, and you guys used to be teammates. I know I've been down to your guys' gym before with both of you and trained with you guys. So how does that feel to fight a former teammate and friend?
To me, it's no big deal, really. I talked to Ricky, I talked to Drew, the head coach, and it's just part of the business. We haven't trained together for 2 years, so I'm sure we've both evolved since then, but... No, we had some epic battles in the gym, we know each other real well. I feel like he's got the advantage, just knowing my style and everything, but no, it's going to make for a great fight for sure. So can't miss.
Yeah, definitely. And, just from seeing Ricky in the gym and seeing some of his fights, you guys' styles really make for, it should be fight of the night. I'm calling it now. Now it's the co-main event. What can you tell us about, what kind of advantages do you think you have? Let's say... training with him, do you feel like you have a slight edge anywhere?
Well, I pretty much feel like I'm faster than everybody with my hands. I feel like I got some of the best hands around. This is Ricky's first fight at featherweight, so he's going to be dropping down to my weight class. I feel like that's going to be an advantage. I might, we'll see how it affects him in the later rounds. But, I'm not really putting a whole lot of stock in our training in the past. It's been years, and I remember when he first started, he was super raw, and I would get the better of him, but... as the time went on, he really picked it up, and he's no slouch. He's only lost to top-level guys. I expect a war.
I agree. So, for those of you watching, us fighters, training is training, fighting is fighting. It's a whole nother league. You got some guys that are gamers, and they show up on fight night, and other guys, are great in the gym, and maybe they hold back a little bit fight night. So it's always hard to tell, even when you train with somebody you don't necessarily know. How they're going to fight. Now, are we going to see the classic Huber put his hands down at some point and take some shots and give some back?
I've always had the hands down thing. I guess I'm always going to want to brawl. I'm a brawler. If I can turn it into a slugfest, I'm going to. I feel like that's my fight. Nobody's going to beat me there. So, Absolutely, you're going to see my hands down, and I'm going to be bombing, and yeah, I'm going to be going for the knockout. I'm going to be interested on his tactics, but my game plan hasn't changed since I started. I go out for the knockout and see where it goes from there.
Perfect. So, last question. How do you see this ending, ideally?
I think it's in my best interest to come out hard and try finishing him, because the guy's a machine, he's a cardio machine. He's going to wear me down and be a threat in the later rounds. So, I plan on coming out hard. I'm trying to take him out, I'm interested to see if he wants to shoot on me, if he wants to bang. We're going to bang, absolutely. I'm just interested to see if he comes out shooting on me right away or if it's just going to be a slobber knocker the whole time. Either way, I'm ready to go.
Awesome. I can't wait to see you either. You never know until you get there that night. But it should be real interesting to see the game plans form, in the first round of the fight and see how it goes. So thank you for coming. And do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank?
No, I'd just like to thank the Compound, which is in Littleton, Rob Sanchez, Brad Nicolarson. That's it.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you guys next time for the next episode of Camozzi's Corner.
Before we take off, Chris, for those young fighters out there, how do they become a part of Sparta Combat?
Well, we're always looking for new young talent, new young blood to bring in, introduced to the Colorado scene, whether you're out of state or in state. So if you're interested in fighting for us, log on to SpartaCombatMMA.com and fill out the registration sheet. You can also follow us on Twitter at SpartaCombatMMA, or you can follow myself at Chris Camozzi. At Chris Camozzi on Twitter. I had a little blank there.
You didn't even know your own Twitter account.
Yeah, right? I got hit in the head too much last week. Give me a follow. Follow Sparta Combat MMA or log on and fill out the registration sheet. We'd love to have new talent in here, and we're definitely seeking out future stars, so we'd love to have you.
We like to thank some sponsors that have been helping us along the way. Ugly Dog Sports Bar, awesome people, good specials, hit them up.
Great place to watch the fights.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Rev Consulting as well. You can find them on Facebook. Rev Consulting, they'll help you spice up your business.
Another big sponsor of ours, Spartan Labs. Our hats here, the supplements, anything you need, SpartanLabsOnline.com. And follow them on Twitter at Spartan Labs.
That's right. They're on Twitter. Hit them up. And don't forget 303 Limo, because for all your party bus needs, they're right there for you.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I'm going to be rolling in a limo all the time.
Me too. But for Chris Camozzi and myself, Luke Sobiek, we'll see you around. Enjoy the fights.
All right. Thanks, guys.